Not long after we were born, we began the journey on learning how to move. We partly got this from watching other people move, but a big part is simply instinctive. If you watch a baby, their movement patterns and their posture is close to perfection. Their ability to be able to correctly use their spines, hips and knees is impeccable. But then we enter school, where we start sitting for many hours every single day, where we then progress to starting to use computers, tablets and phones. We suddenly lose the ability to be able to correctly move. This is a problem because when we don't move correctly, over time we end up putting extra stress through certain areas of our spine, until one day you bend over to simply pick up a pen, put in the final straw on the camel's back, and that's when your back gives way. If this is you, then don't despair, because I'm going to go through exactly how we should correctly use our spines, hips and knees so that we reduce the amount of trauma that goes through our spines and preventing injury. So let's begin. Your hips and your knees are one of the biggest joints within your body. They have one of the largest amounts of range of motion, and they are surrounded by big, strong muscles that are designed to do the heavy lifting. Your spine, however, is not designed in the same way. They have much smaller joints, and if they do start doing the heavy lifting, they start to produce problems. So the exercise I'm about to go through is designed to disassociate your spine with your hips and your knees. What you're going to need for this exercise is any stick that can go from the top of your head down to your tailbone, such as a broomstick, and you're going to make it hit 3 points: the top of your head, the middle of your back and your tailbone. If you're quite rounded in the middle of your back, you may find it doesn't hit all 3 points. If that's the case, then just ensure it hits your tailbone and the middle of your back. The first part of the exercise is called a hip hinge. This is designed to help you disassociate your spine with your hips, so you're simply just going to move your hips, keeping your spine nice and straight. What you're going to do is just simply bend forwards. But the most important thing here is to ensure that the bottom of the stick that's touching your tailbone doesn't come up. If you're using your spine, you'll find that this part of the stick will come up off your back. For the moment, we're just going to keep the knees straight. Don't bend too far with this, and if you find it starts to make anything in the back hurt, then either reduce the amount of movement you're doing or the amount of repetitions that you're doing. Once you've mastered this, then you can move on to the squat. Here we're simply going to incorporate the hip hinge with the knee bend, and it's going to be like you're going to sit in a chair, or that you're closing a car door with your bum. So you're simultaneously going to bend your hips at the same time as bending your knees. Now the other thing you want to make sure is that your knees don't go past your toes, and that the knees are going straight down the middle and not to one side or the other. If you find that this is happening, then you'll end up getting a stress into the knee and you'll start to develop some knee issues. If your knees are going too far inwards, what I suggest is that you can get a Theraband that you can put around the knees, so as you go into a squat, you can just very slightly push out into this Theraband, and that will just help to activate certain muscles higher up, such as your glutes, to help control your knees. A little exercise that might be useful if you're finding it hard to control your knees, or you're finding it hard to come down at all, is an exercise we call the Glute Bridge. This is going to help to activate and stimulate your glute muscles in a much easier way. So this might be something you might want to do before you go into a squat if this is an area of weakness. What you're going to do is just lie on your back with your feet flat on the floor, your knees bent, and you're simply just going to bring your pelvis up, focusing on contracting your glute muscles with the least amount of activation on your hamstrings and your spinal muscles. You can repeat this up to 10 times, 3 times a day, and this should help then to improve your ability to be able to squat properly. The most important thing with this exercise is to do it little and often. Here we're building up a movement pattern, not necessarily strength, although this will come as a result. So I would suggest not doing too many repetitions, probably stay at a maximum of 10, and do it as often as you can in the day, at least 3 times a day, but the more the better. As always, hit that like button, subscribe for new videos every single week. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.